Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the What's New in CAMWorks 2019 webinar, and thank you for joining us. My name is Mark Bissell, and I'm the Senior Applications Engineer with HCL, the makers of CAMWorks. And before I get started, I'd like to thank Andy Hall and Bruce Weiner for their help in preparing this presentation. Let's start by taking a look at our agenda today. We'll begin with the multi-axis milling enhancements that have been added to CAMWorks, followed by the what's new in turning and mill turn, 2.5-axis and 3-axis milling, and CAMWorks volume mill. And then we'll switch over and look at what's new in the technology database and tolerance-based machining. There's far too many people to unmute you, so that the background noise alone would be overwhelming. So please feel free as we're going along to type in any questions that you might have. And at the end, we'll have a short question and answer session. And I'll try to answer as many questions as I can during that session. We're very excited to show you the latest new features and improvements that have been added to CAMWorks 2019. But before I get started, I'd be remiss not to mention the new SolidWorks CAM software powered by CAMWorks being distributed worldwide. Out of all the SolidWorks CAM Gold partners, SolidWorks selected CAMWorks to power their new SolidWorks CAM software, and we want to thank SolidWorks for selecting CAMWorks. The new SolidWorks CAM is now a very important part of our business, and it's off to a great start, and we look forward to SolidWorks CAM's continued success. Also, I'd like to give kudos to and great thanks to the world-leading CAMWorks development team from HCL for the effort they've made in adding these great new enhancements to CAMWorks 2019. There's over 25 major enhancements that have been added. Many of those improve the workflow and reduce programming time. And several of these enhancements also help to improve the user interface and user experience. So we're trying our best to make the product easier to use and to help you also reduce your programming time. And there's just been amazing new functionality that's been added to all the different modules. I want to mention right up front as well the new CAMWorks additive manufacturing powered by Materialize. This is the only additive subtractive solution currently available for SolidWorks. So this is a new product for us, and we're very excited about this new product. Using this new product, you can prepare your models for 3D printing right inside SolidWorks, and this is using the Materialize technology, which is great technology. Some of you might be familiar with a product called Magix, which is made by Materialize, which is one of the most popular and powerful 3D printing products that are available. Using this new technology, you can automatically and interactively create build supports, and again leverage that worldwide leading technology from Materialize. You can also create and send the file to your 3D printer, of course. And then using CAMWorks, if you have a metal 3D printer, you can then use that 3D printed part for subtractive machining. So CAMWorks will automatically use the 3D printed part as stock. It recognizes the build supports and can automatically create the subtractive machining operations, not only to remove the build supports, but to machine the part complete. So this is terrific new technology, and because the design, additive, and subtractive information is all stored within a single file, it updates automatically to design changes. So all of this information, the additive and subtractive information, is all associative with the SolidWorks model and will update automatically to design changes. So great new technology, new product for us, and I don't have time to show you this product in its entirety. We will have another webinar shortly, in the next few weeks probably, to better show you the CAMWorks additive manufacturing. So let's get started with the enhancements. The first enhancement I want to talk about is a big one for us. It's for 5-axis machining. We've added new swarf milling capabilities to 5-axis milling, and this is a dedicated cycle, swarf milling cycle now, which gives us a whole new method of being able to approach 5-axis machining. And so this is great technology. You can now create these swarf milling tool paths using swarf surfaces, guide curves, or floor surfaces. And the material, of course, is then cut away using the side of the tool. If those of you not familiar with swarf cutting, this is where we use the side of the tool to machine surfaces. So this is great new technology that's been added. You'll see here where it's been added to the pattern tab. So we now have a new swarf milling selection that's under the pattern tab. And then when you turn that on under the pattern tab, then a new multiple cuts tab is also shown, and that allows you to make multiple cuts in Z. So let's take a look at this. So there's a couple of swarf surfaces, or surfaces both on the inside of the part and on the outside of the part. And here you can see where there's been a feature defined for those, a multi-surface feature. And then here you can see on the pattern tab where there's a new swarf milling option that can be selected. And you see that you can select upper and lower guide curves if you so choose. So here we select, we ask that we want to use an upper and lower guide curve, and you'll see here where we select the upper guide curve and then select the segments of the lower guide curve in order to better create the toolpath. And then you can also define a floor surface here. And under the multiple cuts tab, then you can set the number of cuts that you want, and you can see the toolpath is generated very quickly. And then you can see how the side of the tool maintains constant contact with the surface. And of course, that can also be used on the outside of the part as well. And there's also the option to be able to use gouge checking with the swarf milling as well. So you can see that was turned on here, and then you can see the end result of the toolpath. Okay. So great new functionality that's been added for 5-axis swarf milling. Another great new enhancement is the ability to be able to now define up to 4 turrets within CAMWorks. We were supporting 2 turrets previously. Now we've added a 3rd and a 4th turret as well. So this is great new functionality. And you can see here on this slide that where in the TechDB, you can now define machines with up to 4 turrets. There's a rear 1 and a rear 2, front 2 turret that is now available. You can make any of those active, and you can also assign tool cribs to each different turret. So you can have a separate set of tools, a standard set of tools that you use for each turret, and those now then become available to you within the user interface. So in addition to the adding the turrets, or being able to define those 4 turrets within the technology database for a machine, we can now also control up to 4 turrets using the sync manager. So we can now do synchronous machining with up to 4 turrets. You see that on the upper left there, and the lower left, you see where you can also, for each operation, select the tool you want to use for each or from any of the 4 turrets. And then you see over on the right, there's the tools and operations for up to 4 turrets as well. So these can all be selected within the user interface now. And let's take a look at how that works within the user interface. So now this great new technology, being able to control up to 4 turrets and do synchronous machining with up to 4 turrets. And I really like the way it's been implemented. It really has been done well. You can see here where there's a machine selected that has 4 turrets on it. There's already been operations created using just a single turret. But if we open up the sync manager now, you can see where you can easily, and you'll see that here in a minute, you can easily drag and drop operations from one turret to another. So in addition to being able to select a tool off a specific turret while you're building operations, you can also just drag and drop them using the sync manager like this, and then insert the timing codes in order to create synchronous machining. And then you'll see here where we go ahead and post-process the code. And then you'll see in virtual machine where we can support up to 4 turrets as well here in virtual machine. Okay. So terrific new enhancement, being able to control up to 4 turrets now rather than just 2 turrets. And of course, this is moving towards, further development as well. Okay. Another great enhancement here is the pinch turning option. So we now have the ability to perform pinch turning or program pinch turning operations using CAMWorks, sometimes called simultaneous machining or pinch turning. I really like the way this was implemented as well. It's just a switch there you see over on the right where you just turn on the switch for pinch turning, and a second tab appears for selecting the tool that you want to use on the opposite turret. And then you can use this cycle, of course, to double your feed rates and do pinch turning and reduce cycle times. So greatly reducing cycle time. So great new option here that's been added. And like I say, it was nicely implemented, I think, in terms of making it easy to just select and create an operation. You'll see that here in a minute. And it really has made it quite easy to use. So here's a part right here. There's a turn roughing operation already that's been created. And all we need to do is just hit that little checkbox there that's for simultaneous pinch turning. And you can see that Teolpath just automatically gets created. By default, it's using an identical tool on the opposite turret. And then you have the option to change that on the tool tab as well. So you can see it's just that easy, quick to be able to use. And of course, it also creates the sync codes in the sync manager in order for the simultaneous or pinch turning to occur. Okay. Great new enhancement, the pinch turning enhancement. Next one here, the collision check along the y-axis. So this is something we've been asked for by a number of customers. We have now added over on the left, you can see where we've added a relief angle now to the insert. And so this is an important addition to defining the insert. So based on the thickness and relief angle, we can now determine whether or not there's going to be any interference in the y-axis. You also see in the center there, we now have new y-axis avoidance options under the Advanced tab for turning and boring operations. In this case, it's a boring operation here. And you can turn on that advanced y-axis avoidance on the advanced tab, turn on the avoidance in y-axis, and you can check then for the insert and for the tool holder. And one of the nice features is it'll automatically calculate the minimum bore diameter needed to avoid a collision. So this is a nice new enhancement as well. And there's also on the right there for simulation a checkbox to decide how you want that it to be displayed if there's a collision that does occur in the y-axis. So nice new enhancement here that's been added, and let's take a quick look at it. You can see here where there's now the ability to create a relief angle and then turn on these options on the advanced tab. And if I preview it, you can see here where it tells me what the minimum bore diameter needs to be. So the tool that I had there, it did interfere. And so it shows me what the minimum bore diameter was that was needed for that operation. Okay. This is another great new enhancement. I really like this one. We have added the ability to have multiple strategies for multi-stepped holes. So we had the ability previously to create multiple strategies for multi-stepped holes, but you had to select those for each individual multi-step tool. So for example, you can see where we have a 5-step port and a 6-step port, just as an example here. And now when you go to the parameters for a multi-step tool, you now have the ability to create a new configuration. And that's what you see over on the left there. And then in the center there, you can see where you can then name the new configuration and assign a particular strategy to it. And from that time on then, that gets stored in the technology database. That's what you see over on, and then it will be selected automatically by automatic feature recognition when you go to go to use it. So this will automatically select the correct machining strategies to various size ports or holes and multi-step holes. And, you know, this is just a great new option to help you further automate the programming process. I mean, that's one of the things we've been doing is trying to help automate further and further the programming process. And you can see here where there's a configuration being created and a strategy being assigned. You'll see it here again. So under parameters, then we can create a new configuration and then select a new strategy to assign. And you can see, of course, those have been assigned. Now what we'll do is delete them and then run automatic feature recognition, and you can see where they get automatically assigned now. So from that time forward, then that becomes available to you. And this is where they get stored in the technology database, those configurations and the assignment strategy assignments. So great new enhancement there for multi-step holes. If you're doing a lot of manifolds and that sort of thing that have this type of hole, it's really going to be a time saver for you. So nice new enhancement that's been added. Another great new enhancement is we have improved the chamfer machine for curve features. We can now chamfer machine, and chamfer made it available for curve features within the dialog box, so that you can chamfer or deburr, cut the edges of curved features as well, both 2.5 and 3D curved features. So we have now made that available to you under the contour milling operation. We had that available for some of the other types of features. Now we've added that for curve features as well. And there's also a new strategy in the TechDB for edge break for curve features also. And part of this new enhancement is the ability to have an avoid allowance or distance from a vertical wall, for example, to stay away from a vertical edge. So you can also specify the avoid allowance as well. And you can see here down at the bottom where you can that first of all turn on chamfer machining for the curved feature contour operation now, and also select or input an avoid allowance. Okay, and that can be in terms of either percentage of diameter of the cutter or by a specific distance. So nice new enhancement that's been added for chamfer machining. Okay. This is another great enhancement that's been added. This next one, the advanced edit toolpath selection. So we're trying to give the programmers more and more control over precise toolpaths. We previously had the ability to edit the toolpath. That is, each move that gets created within a given operation or by a given operation. And we've had that ability previously. Now we've greatly enhanced that capability. So we've created a new advanced edit toolpath selection. It's on the right-click menu. So once you create an operation with some toolpath on it, you can then right-click on it and select the advanced edit toolpath. And you can see where we've built this whole new interface into the property manager now, and we're moving more and more of the user interface, of course, into the property manager, the SolidWorks property manager. And so this is just a great new enhancement. It's got improved navigation controls, improved display options. It's got improved selection options, and you can also add new records, so you can change how it, how the exact toolpath, how it approaches, how it add rapid and feed moves, change feed rates, all that sort of thing. So you can see here where this new interface, and you can see up at the top there the new navigation controls, makes it very easy to move around within a particular toolpath. Also some new display options for how you want things displayed. You can also control how much of the toolpath is being displayed. So, and you also see where the apt CL data is available to you then to make changes. So that's another big change as well. Also, there's new selections options. So there's new ways to select what type of, the toolpath that you want to edit. And there's a couple of different ways of doing that. You can window up, for example, here, and you can actually graphically select it. So just draw a box around it. And let's suppose we just want to get rid of those. Then we can delete those. We really don't want those toolpaths, and then we can change how it links from the previous tool end of the last toolpath to the beginning of the next. Okay, so some great new options here, and you can see where you're able to graphically select as well. There's other options. Here's another one of the options. It's between two moves, so you can select between two rapid moves, and you can find all of the information between that and delete that, for example. There's also the ability to use a sketch, so you can create a SolidWorks sketch and then select the entities that fall within that sketch, for example. So here's an example where you have a sketch, and this can be used in different ways. There's a sketch up at the top of the part there that's sort of like a clamp, and then one down below if you want to cut the toolpath off at a specific Z level, for example. So there's just a lot of new editing capabilities that have been added here, and different ways of being able to select things, trying to make it easier for you to create exactly the type of toolpath that you want to create. Okay. And then there's the ability, of course, to add new moves and that sort of thing as well. So here's just a simple example where we might want to change the toolpath a little bit, and we can add records to the toolpath. So we can go in and edit and add a move. So you can see where we could change the different values of the precise lead in. And, it really gives you full control over each and every move of the toolpath that's been created. So I'm trying to give you precise control here. Okay. So great new functionality with the advanced edit toolpath selection, new menu selection. The next one here, the ability to find tapered shank tools. So you can see under the milling tool tab, we've added a whole new non-cutting portion for the tool. And this really allows us to be able to define a variety of different tapered tools now. And you can see some examples there. And, this is just great functionality for being able to define these tools, this type of tool. Also, of course, the simulation will do gouge checking against it, so collision checking. So if there's a collision that occurs with part of the tool, then it will be displayed for you while doing simulation. So supported fully by simulation. And so this just allows us to be able to define new types of tools that we could define them, but not as well. And now it's just helping us be able to go forward into more tooling and better tooling. So a great new enhancement, the ability to define tapered shank tools. Here's another very important one. We've been asked about this. It was optimizing feed rates for sharp corners. A lot of programmers, most programmers, I think, know the issues when it comes to sharp corners and what that can cause, both internal and external sharp corners. So what we've added here is the ability to control those sharp corners and define how you want them to be handled. You can see this is on the feed and speed tab now. Over there on the right, you'll see where there's now a couple of new selections on the feed and speed tab for sharp corners. You can enable corner slowdown, so you can reduce the feed rate as it comes towards that sharp corner. You can also specify a distance for how far before and how far after you want the feed rate to be adjusted or reduced typically. And so these are all new options there that you see at the bottom of the feed and speed tab. And you also notice the arc feed rate override as well. So you can also control the feed rate for arcs if you want to make those, slow those down, for example, and on an 80%, or there in my slide, it's showing 80% reduction in the feed rate as it does arcs. So, and there's also more capabilities there. We'll look at a few of them here. But on that feed and speed tab, you can see that sharp corners selection that's now available. And you can turn on that enable corner slowdown option and specify the reduction in feed rate. And you'll also see where it actually breaks up the lines and arcs to allow for that lead in and lead out, feed rate, that distance for slowdown. So nice new enhancement, handling arcs much better now, and also sharp corners much better than previously, and it just gives you the programmer gives them more control over the exact toolpath and feeds and speeds for sharp corners and arcs. The ability to move features. This one is very important in terms of and we're probably, I would think we may be the first company to really first CAM system to be able to really do this. So the idea here is that, suppose you have features, holes, pockets, whatever they are, and they are asymmetrically dimensioned. In other words, the location might be location of the hole or pocket might be, plus 10 minus nothing. And so what we want to do is we want to machine that pocket at the mean. We call it machine to the mean. We want to machine to the mean. And so we want to adjust the position of that pocket. And we want to do that independently. So we now, rather than, the designers are always adamant or often adamant about not wanting to make changes, anyone making changes to their model, not wanting manufacturing making changes to their model. This allows manufacturing now to be able to make adjustments, slight adjustments for, and even large adjustments for, for asymmetric dimensioned parts. And so we can now take the machinable feature like the pocket and adjust it slightly so that it's machined at the mean and not at the nominal dimension where it might have been modeled. Okay, so this is great new enhancement that allows us to do this, and it also gives the ability for the user right now to manually adjust it, you might say, or move it, move those features. But also going forward, eventually, TBM will be able to automatically identify tolerance-based machining. That is, will be able to automatically identify those asymmetric tolerances and move the features to the mean of their location. So you'll see that here where we now have this new right-click move selection. If you right-click on a feature, you can now go to the move selection on the menu, and you can see where we can adjust the feature's location. And for example, he's going to move it. We're going to move it 2 millimeters here. And notice too, there was some toolpath associated with it, so it automatically recognized that and adjusted the toolpaths as well. So right-click, move again. You can see it here, and this option, this ability to move features, can also be applied to multiple features. So here you can take a whole group of features and move them slightly. And you'll also see where it's actually marking those features. It leaves a little mark on the feature icon there to let you know that it's been adjusted. And you can also move features in X, Y, or Z, you can see, on the fly as well while you're creating features interactively. So those are all new options that have been added. The ability to move these features, any of the features around on a part if they're asymmetrically dimensioned, and you need to machine them at a new location at the mean. So very, very important enhancement going forward for tolerance-based machining. Really looking forward to it being able to adjust those automatically. Right now, we've given you the opportunity to be able to move them individually or by groups, using this new enhancement. Hole conditions. So this is a new option. This is requested by some of our customers. They often want to or run into situations where they want to drill first and then do the milling on the part. Now, normally it's the other way around, but on certain parts lend themselves to this, where it's easier to drill all the way through the stock and then go back and mill the part than it is to drill the holes afterwards. So it's just a matter of the part geometry. You can see on the left right there, there is the ability now to edit the end conditions of holes. So if you right click on a hole feature, you can then edit the hole condition using a new selection that's available on the menu. And then over on the right, you can see that's the CAMWorks options dialog box. So that's under CAMWorks options sort of universally for all for all the holes that are in a part. You can extend the holes to the stock. That's under the Mill Features tab now that we've added that new functionality. And you can also apply, you see the apply button there, you can also apply that to all of the holes that are in a part. So great new options here for being able to edit the hole conditions And you can see that a little bit here. I'll go ahead and show you this one. This feature was, like I say, was being requested by several of our customers. We'd like to provide, and many of these are customer, in fact, almost all are customer-driven enhancements. And so that's what we've done here is add a customer-driven enhancement, and you can see where you can edit those end conditions now. If I right-click and then select that. And then you can select where you want the whole conditions where you want the hole to start and end, for example. So the top of the hole or bottom of the hole can be adjusted. And you can, again, just adjust those independently of the whole feature itself. So we're no longer restricting it to just, where the whole feature starts or ends in Z. You can now make adjustments to those. So, and you can see here where there's a few different selections that are being chosen and different options that you have to adjust those. Okay. So, edit hole end conditions. Rest machining. This is for 3-axis milling primarily. Rest machining using an offset of the part. So if you have a casting or forging, this might be common, especially if it's a 3-axis part. You might want to be able to machine the part by using an offset of the part. So you see over there on the left there, you can now, under the rest machining tab, we now have the ability to select the current part as a method of machining and then specify an offset distance for the machining. So for roughing, for example. So and then I might also add that there at the bottom, there's also been added a previous tool method, and that's specifically the advanced method of 3-axis machining. That was available, that previous tool method was available for our previous 3-axis machining. Now it's also available for the advanced method of 3-axis machining. So those are now available to you as well. And let's take a look at this real quick. This is a good example of how this feature, this new enhancement might be used. So on this part, you'll see here in a minute. Well, we have stock, which is really like a casting or a forging, where it's very much in the shape of the part, but it still has stock on it that needs to be machined away. We don't want to cut a bunch of air or do a lot of air cutting and that kind of thing. So we now have added the ability to go from the current part and put in a value for the offset. And you can see here where there's both a roughing and a semi-finishing operation where we've done that. There's the shape of the stock. And you can see how efficient now this new Teolpath is, just using an offset of the part for the machining, for the roughing. So here it is, roughed and ready to go, and it's really a nice new enhancement that's been added there. Okay. Selection of curve features for curve project operation. So this is a user experience enhancement. One of the things that took several clicks, and there was kind of a process. We could do this before, of course. We could take features, a sketch, and project it down onto down onto a surface, common when you're doing engraving, and that's what you can see here on the right. And so but it took a couple of steps to do that. What we've done here now is add under the Curve Project dialog box and tab, we have now added the ability to select the sketch that you want to project right on the fly as you're creating this operation. So this really just makes it a lot easier and faster for machining. And it's just I think I'll skip the video on this one. Just it just makes it easier to use, and it's just faster and easier to select. So it's a nice user experience enhancement. It's just helping things move more quickly in the workflow to be a better workflow. Another one of those here is the display controls for contain and avoid areas. So we've added the ability to display the contain and avoid areas for 3-axis milling when you select the operation. We could do this before. If you selected the contain or avoid, it would display it, but you had to go underneath that operation and select the contain or avoid in order to see it. Now what we've done is automate that so that it can be displayed right away when you just select the pattern project operation, for example. And you can see in this example, there's the ability to display those easily. So we can now display those. And again, just trying to help the user to more easily see where the contain and avoids they had created are and display those when you're going through the operations tree. A couple other additional milling enhancements here. Lead ins and outs for 3-axis curves are now always parallel to the XY plane. So that was an enhancement we added. That was a request, another customer request. And this makes it easier to turn on and off cutter comp and that sort of thing. So we wanted to add that, and we've done that now in 2019. And you can also see over on the right there, then on the NC tab, we now have the ability then to turn on cutter compensation for the 2.5-axis curves, of course, and then also, turn on and off the compensation and decide whether or not the compensation is based on tool center or not. Another nice new enhancement, volume mill zigzag toolpath. So there's now a new volume mill type of toolpath that can be created for zigzag, and this is an enhancement that we've added. Sometimes there's some of the other CAM systems out there that had it, so we've added this to stay competitive with our competition, and we've actually made this smarter than most of the other cycles that are out there. It'll automatically choose zigzag cuts to get the best cycle time. The final cut on the part is always in the zig direction, you would say, for example, climb mill direction for a better finish, and it opens up slots always in the zig mode too as well. So just a nice enhancement now that's been added for volume mill specifically. And let's just take a quick look at that one. There are some parts that lend themselves. Generally, of course, you want to climb mill all the time, but there are some parts that lend themselves to the zigzag sort of roughing routine, alternately climbing, conventional milling. And here's an example of a part like that. Previously, you can see it would lift up and go back and cut each side and climb mill, always climb milling. Now what we have is the option to be able to open the operation, and we have this new selection now under the roughing tab. We now have a zigzag option rather than just climb or conventional. So that's been added. And you can see how quickly it'll generate the toolpath, and now you can see that zigzag toolpath, which is in some ways is more efficient. So yeah, nice new enhancement for volume mill. Another enhancement for volume mill is the tool holder avoidance. So when you're doing 3-axis roughing, we've added the ability for volume mill to avoid the holder, and so it'll actually adjust the tool paths so that the holder will not collide with the side of the part. And you can also specify a particular distance avoid distance so that you can decide how close you want to get with your holders to the part. And this also, of course, works in simulation, and it allows you to be able to check the tool holder to make sure that it's not gouging or hitting the part. Okay, and just a nice new enhancement for volume mill. Let's jump into the TechDB here. There's a few new enhancements that we've added to the TechDB, in fact, several. One of those is the ability, one of the great ones is the ability to define default strategies and assign those to machines. So this is really a great new enhancement in terms of if you've got a part programmed on one machine and now you need to move it over to another machine. I mean, you might have a different set of tools, a different feeds and speeds, different depth of cuts. I mean, on those two machines. I mean, maybe they're completely different machines. One has high horsepower, one doesn't. One has high spindle speeds, the other one doesn't. So this allows you to be able to have a default set of strategies that are assigned to each machine. So this is just further enhancing the automation process. You can have a default set of tools. Now you can have a default set of strategies assigned to each machine. So great new enhancement. You can see over on the left, we've added that selection for default feature strategies over into the TechDB. That's where this has been added, and you can see down at the bottom there where you can now select the scheme, the strategy, the set of default strategies to be used for that particular machine. Okay. Also over on the right, you can see where this is within the user interface now, not the TechDB, but within the CAMWorks user interface. You can also select which machine that you want to use and apply these default set of strategies to an existing program. So you can select the strategy scheme you want to use, and then you can apply. You see the apply button down there at the bottom, and you can apply those strategies, that new default set of strategies, to an existing machine. Okay, a few more TechDB enhancements. Machines can now be defined with 1 to 4 turrets. We talked about that earlier, so we now have the ability to define up to 4 turrets when you're creating a turning or mill turn machine. Excuse me. You also see there in the center where we can select which turret you want to use for a given operation. So that's also available within the TechDB. So this is specifically in the TechDB. You can now assign strategies and operations to a particular turret if you want to do that. So as we add these enhancements, we're also, of course, making those available for automation within the TechDB. And then over on the right, you can see that we also have added some new parameters specifically for 3-axis milling and primarily, I guess I would say, for the advanced method. So you can now choose whether or not you're using the previous method or advanced method for 3-axis machining. And if you choose advanced method, then you've got some new selections there for for parameters that you can use in the TechDB that are available in the advanced method that aren't available. For example, scallop machining is the one shown there. And so again, as we add this functionality, we're going to also updating the TechDB so that it can be used for automated programming as well. Tolerance-based machining, TBM. Great new enhancements for TBM, just great amount of work that's been done here, and our development team, great thanks to the development team for the work they've done in TBM. We now have the ability to, TBM now supports turned parts and mill turned parts as well. Previously, we were doing only milled parts, so now we've added the ability to do turned parts as well, and that's great piece of functionality. In addition, we can also use the ISO 286 standard, which is common in Europe there. The ISO 286 also applies now to turned parts as well, or is available for turned parts as well. So some great new enhancements here for tolerance-based machining. And also, this is a big one, was geometric dimension intolerancing, or GD&T, has also been added to tolerance-based machining, and this is another great step forward. You can see where tolerance-based machining is now able to read the GD&T symbols, look at the tolerance that's been set, and have select particular strategies based on those settings. So over on the left, you can see lower left there, you can see where you can select any of the up to 14 different GD&T symbols, assign a tolerance range, and then select a particular machining strategy. So this is really moving quickly. We're moving quickly towards, automated programming using geometric dimension tolerancing, or what I want to say is MED, model-based definition, and also PMI, product manufacturing information. These are dimensions that are included in models. And this is, you're going to see a lot more of this. I've been doing some webinars on this topic specifically, and MBD and PMI data as part of the models. Those are dimensions and tolerances, notes. Everything that's on the 2.5D drawings is now being added to the models, and larger companies are already doing this, have already done it on many of their parts, if not all in certain cases. And they're doing this so that 2D drawings are no longer required. There's great expense involved in creating and maintaining 2D drawings, and more companies are moving towards full 3D environment where the model itself is going to become the matter. And this digital twin, as we call it, with MBD and PMI information going forward will be what will be used for automated programming and for programming in general. So we're moving in this direction as well. Tolerance-based machining now supports GD&T. And last couple enhancements here. The TBM, the tolerance-based machining, is also now fully integrated inside CAMWorks. So previously we had to run it separately. It's now part of the CAMWorks product. So when you, for example, run AFR, or you do a rebuild on the part, the tolerance-based machining settings can be included automatically with every time that change is made and a rebuild is required, for example. So it's now part of the system, integrated. And then over on the right, we've also then provided the ability to reassign strategies and TBM conditions based on the TBM settings. So for example, if you have an existing program, you want to apply these GD&T and other settings within TBM to it, then you can put some dimensions on the part. You can hit the little paintbrush down there, and this GD&T, MBD, PMI information will be read automatically, and the assignments that you've made for the symbols and tolerance ranges and strategies will all be applied. So just terrific new enhancements for TBM. Okay.
And this concludes this video. Thank you for watching.